All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate everybody that came today in person and virtual. The theme of today's talk is going to be to keep it moving, and the IT is capitalized because I spent 20 years in IT business before I transitioned into what I do now. And so I'm going to start out today just by telling you a little backstory about myself, just so you guys can understand how we got to this point. It's just really important that you understand where I came from so that you know that I put in the work to be here today. The thing is that I should not even be here today. Some of you may know that Southern Canadian here in Indiana, come from Wisconsin, but it's a sequence of events that's happened over the last decade that's ended my family up in a totally different solar system. So this is a backstory of how we got here, and we got to go back to all the way to 2014 to get to understand how we came from what was a northern Minnesota town we'd moved to. I working for a small hospital up there. We moved during one of the coldest winters, I think, in the history of the world, but it did not get above 32 below zero for like 40 days, and my kids never missed school. So while we were working up there, my wife and I had the dream that we wanted to start traveling in the United States. Kind of started with a vacation that we took out to Colorado at the time, and then right after that trip, we'd end up on a journey that would take me and most of my family through almost every state in this country. But after that contract ended, we had sold a house. It was bought. It was a land contract, a small mobile home. It was a two-bedroom mobile house out in the middle of the woods, and we bought an RV. The idea was to travel the country in the RV, not having any idea how expensive it was going to be to put gas in the thing, and not just to mention the fact, I think the first couple days that we bought it, the wall actually separated. So actually it came apart. So we actually had to make some arrangements to get into a different RV. And then very shortly after that, a tornado came through, uh, which ended up being just a crazy situation. We ended up moving that RV into my mom's driveway. I lived there for a little while, and I was getting unemployment at the time, so getting close to the last unemployment check, and we had seen a show called Shipping Wars. And I remember like it was yesterday, looking at my wife and saying, "Hey, I think we can do this." And at the time, I had a Honda Pilot, had quarter of a million miles on it. Was not a necessarily on its best leg, but we got a U-Haul car trailer, and we hauled a Mazda Miata out to Estes Park, Colorado. So I actually have a picture of that in the book that I brought here today for people that are here. In that parking lot, I had $0. I mean, crazy. The only money that I was going to get was from the payment on that car. And so Margo quickly pivoted and she started looking for us to find some other work. And so we found some people that were moving from Colorado to Michigan. And then we found a dryer and washer that needed to go to Massachusetts. And so the guy was willing to pay basically what the washer and dryer were worth to get it shipped across the country. And that would end up starting a business that would go to 48 states. We'd end up buying 3 trucks, 3 trailers. My kids would go to 40 some states before it was over, probably to their dismay. I'm sure there's times that they wish that they would have been with on some of those trips. But that business would do over $300,000 in revenue and would kind of lead to a sequence of events that would lead me to being living in Fort Wayne today. And so it's part and parcel that this all kind of goes together because while I was driving out to the East Coast all the time, I commonly drove past a little building called Sweetwater. Some of you have probably heard of the place before, but I called my wife and I said, I want to work there. And I remember her saying, "What is this place? I don't even know what you're talking about." And so I had a little bit of research to do, figuring out what it was. And 3 weeks later, I started my job there. And so when I first started that job and I moved to this little town, Fort Wayne, I lived in a basement on Sherwood to Pettit. Uh, my wife couldn't come here. She had to stay in the other part of the state, and my kids had to stay back in Wisconsin. It was a difficult existence coming to Fort Wayne about 6 years ago. And then from fast forward to that to the pandemic, um, I had gotten a job back in the IT business and everything was going well, and then the pandemic happened. And so it was at that point that a choice had to be made. We were actually supposed to buy our first house. I got fired on Friday. We were supposed to close Monday morning. And so we got lucky that we had some money in the bank and that we were, in a situation where it wasn't a total loss. We were able to buy an RV that was able to get us by for a little while. And then my wife and I were able to build an IT business. She was a server at Cracker Barrel, but I was able to help her um, learn what I know. And now today, she's surpassing me in income without a college degree, which is pretty phenomenal, just by her sheer grit and tenacity. And so that business, M6 Networks, were somewhere just shy about $300,000 in the last 3 years. And on top of that, during the pandemic, everybody was home. And so after I left Sweetwater, I started a business that sold ukuleles online, and we ended up selling somewhere in the neighborhood like $100,000 worth of ukuleles. Um, and that's a fun story too. That's a one I'll say for off the record here, but that website got me sued. And so this is kind of where the story gets a little interesting. And I tell you this backstory because it kind of leads us up to where we are here today. Thankfully, we were able to get our stuff back together. We were able to buy a house. And during a family vacation down in Florida, we were going to rent an RV. And, motels were, for us to get a motel and for us to stay in a motel was $500 a night. And I thought, well, we could just rent an RV and we could save some money. I started looking into this. I found a website called Outdoorsy, and I thought we could do this. We could run an RV rental business. And so when we came back, we ended up buying an RV. A couple weeks later, my wife and I found an RV. We went and bought it. It was a tow behind one. We had a great year. It started out really good. Eventually, we would end up buying three RVs, even a drivable, almost $100,000 one. Um, but during that process of all these things happening, we were still trying to buy a house. And so we had a lot of difficulty. We could not find an agent to help us. We went through over a dozen real estate agents, and finally one took me in a basement and said, "Look, you need to get your stuff together. You need to go to BIP's bank. You need to refinance all your debt in your business and have a proper business loan." And that was the magic moment. And so today, I stand here as a licensed real estate agent. My wife's a licensed real estate agent. We both got into this business after that day. She wanted to do it, but there was a clear opportunity for us to move forward. And so Margo would eventually get into classes. She's got her real estate license for a little over a year now. And then I got mine just a little over a year ago as well. I'm licensed in 2 states. She licensed in 2 states. And it was really due to that RV rental business that we ended up at a small local brokerage here in Fort Wayne, ADT. And so I, I tell you this because a chance conversation in that RV for one of my clients that was renting it got me on this path that brought us to the brokerage we went to, which got us to our mentor who's been doing this business for 37 years and has taught us to practice real estate the right way. And so I'm just incredibly grateful for that opportunity to be put in this position. We sold 40 homes last year, the first year in real estate. And now we've moved to a new brokerage with an international footprint. We're literally very close to the new CEO of one of the largest brokerages in the country. We're building a team. We're coaching agents. We're bringing our IT experience to the real estate business. And so, with all of the things that happened last year, we were short of our goal of, and I wanted to make 50 houses. We sold just shy of 100,000 in commissions last year, mainly off of internet leads. And so that pretty much brings us up to where we are today. And I just tell you this story because I want you to understand in the past what we've done, right? And it hasn't been easy. A lot of the accomplishments sound amazing in hindsight, but as I continue to grow and I can see in hindsight, I see where I made some major mistakes in my business philosophy and my life philosophy and my faith, right? And so I wanted to tell this story because not to tell you how great I was, but there's a few bits of wisdom that I learned while I was laying alongside the highway fixing my truck, trying to figure out how I was going to pay for stuff I didn't have the money for. And I think it'll help you as you kind of go through life. And this is really an important little thing that I learned is that once you realize that your life is a series of problems and how you respond to those problems is the nature of the game, everything will get much better for you. And when I was on the road, every 2 or 3 days, I can tell you that I faced a problem that seemed insurmountable. And somehow, some way through uh, we'll just call it God's grace at this point, we were able to make it through. It's probably one of the roughest times in my relationship, my wife and my kids. Still probably recovering from some of that mental strain of that experience. But when you get to this point where you have insurmountable challenges, there's really three questions that you can ask that'll help you when you're faced these problems. What can I do? Start brainstorming what can you do. A lot of things are in your control. And so if you can do something about it, I suggest you do it. Because one thing I've learned is that you are not going to have somebody coming to your rescue. The second thing is, what can I read? There have been millions of pages written about whatever it is that you probably are trying to do. Unless you're really trying to break new ground, most things have been attempted and most people have wrote a book about it. And so ask yourself, what can you read? You have the internet. The internet has been an amazing tool for me for the bulk of my life. I've been able to learn new skills pretty rapidly. And the last thing is who could I ask? There are amazing resources out there, and it's amazing when you just call somebody and you say, hey, can you help me with this? They will possibly help you. And so just ask. You never know what the outcome is going to be unless you ask. And so just try. Um, but once you become a problem solver, your value is indestructible. It does not matter what business I'm in, my value is permanent. I can be in IT, I can be in real estate. Tomorrow I can be a landscaper. Doesn't matter what you do in your job. Today, that job, make yourself indestructible in value. There's a lot of days I demand more of myself than anybody can ever dream of. My wife will ask me, what are you working on today? What am I not working on today? We're always trying to innovate. We're always looking for the next thing. We're always trying to push ourselves to the next level. And those things over the last 20 years have provided me the bulk of my own employment. I've had some jobs, but there's a loose set of guidelines that have got me to where I am today. And so I was really proud of myself to be able to be here today and to be able to get to this spot. But for a long time, I was really not thankful for what I had. So this is kind of what I want to give you next is I heard the saying, I complained about not having two shoes until I met a man with no feet. Well, last week I met a guy with no arms and no legs. Now, when you meet a person with no arms and no legs that surpassed you in every single possible way, you got to ask yourself, what excuse do you have? Why have you not done the things that the guy with no arms and no legs is able to do faster than you, better than you, quicker than you? He's on a 5-month vacation going across the world with his family. What excuse do you have? So the way that you get to a better future is really you. There's a lot of people talking about this, that, and the other thing. It's politics, it's the country, it's this, it's my employer, it's this. Oh, what other external source it is. It's not that thing. It's what are you doing? Or what are you not doing that you should be doing? That's the difference. And you have to be eager and willing to fail. I have a lot of times talked about how many businesses I've started. And I love my businesses, but they're not all successful. Some of them were failures. I sold a lot of ukuleles during the pandemic, but the reality is I'm not a ukulele salesman today. That website is out of business. We're not running it anymore. It was not worth the time or the anxiety that I had being reliant upon a drop shipper or having to navigate the fact that I didn't have a physical store with inventory. And so you're going to see a lot of get rich quick schemes. People will sell you on, you can start an Amazon store and you can go sell these things on eBay or whatever. You can go source products from China and sell them for cheap. But this is the thing that I can tell you is that um, you need to be prepared. You need to be prepared like a Boy Scout that it's probably not going to be easy. Everything in this world that's worth having is hard. And so you have to have a passion for what you do. And I love music. I love helping people achieve their goals of making music, but I'm not a ukulele passion person. That's not my thing. And so when I have customer service challenges with my ukulele business, because drop shipper didn't get it in time or they don't like the tonality of the wood, it's very difficult for me to have a pleasant attitude about that because it's money out of my pocket. I'm shipping that back. I'm eating that loss. And there's product behind me as I stand here right now that belongs in that business that's not sold. But it's all about your mindset. And I've tried every day in my life to eliminate a scarcity mindset that came from my family coming from a small town in rural Wisconsin and where we kept everything for ourselves and we didn't share anything with anybody else. We kept it all. And we felt that that was going to make us better. But the reality is that if you are not empowered, that is the only way you're going to ever reach your full potential in this world. You must be empowered. Your mission must be ordained by God. That's the reality of the situation. And when it is ordained, when that mission is ordained, the next bit of advice that I'd give you is find a coach and mentors. I prided myself, and I still to this day face criticism because I try to micromanage an entire process. And when you get to that next level, when you want to go to the next level, you need people that can help you get there that were once where you were and they know the path. Because there is nothing new in this game. The path to success is a process. The faster that you can get on the process, the faster you can have success. And so as I stand here today, just behind me over my shoulder here, you'll see a calendar. And on this calendar, I have my year pretty much mapped out. And we will be filling it in because I try to keep myself actually a little bit flexible. And then on over this shoulder, I have a week calendar. I have a week calendar over here. And so how you actually plan out and map out your life is how you respond to when an opportunity comes up. And so on this calendar here, there's masterminds. I attend masterminds, I attend conferences, I go to education, I go to seminars, I pay coaches, I do all of these things, and I seek guidance in the area that I need. And so over my shoulder, see if I get the direction right, over here is a stack of books. And some of those are nonfiction, but behind the nonfiction books are real estate books, sales books, life books, all of the things that somebody needs to get themselves up to the next level. I'm reading constantly. I'm trying to always make myself better. But when we start focusing and we seek guidance, that guidance can really level us up in ways that you can't possibly understand and getting where you want to be. Take another example, which is emotional intelligence. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not the first guy to be the foremost expert on emotional intelligence, but when I started working with somebody that was a board certified psychotherapist, and I realized that to be able to connect with my clients, I really needed to have an emotional connection. I needed to be emotionally available as well. A mentality shift happened for me that can't be undone. And so a lot of people, myself included, and I still struggle with this today, have a challenge committing with the money that's required to take yourself to the next level in your life. But now I can see with total clarity, I thought everything was a failure. As I look back at my businesses when I was in the middle of them, I thought I was a failure, right? And I I just posted the other day the point of going to the gym isn't to win the gym. The point of being married isn't to win marriage. The point of being in business isn't to win business, it's to stay in business. And so I just needed a little shift, just a little coaching, a little guidance, maybe from somebody when I was in the middle, so that I didn't give up. We were just about to get to the good, okay? And so nobody ever dreams of the pain. I can tell you right now, if you want to know what it feels like, if you have a pickup truck, go sleep in the back seat of it once and tell me how comfortable it is if you're 6 feet tall. Because my truck was not long enough, the back seat was not long enough for me to lay in it. And even on my improvised bed, it was difficult. And so if you're not willing to endure, if you're not willing to sleep in the back of the truck, if you're not willing to replace major parts of your automobile with Harbor Freight tools in the parking lot of an AutoZone, you're probably going to fail. You probably just keep your job and stay where you're at now, because it's the willingness to endure that will be your ability to grow. If you're not willing to do it, you will not get to where you want to be. And I know my wife doesn't like it when I compare myself against other people in the same industry or in the same level as me, as I will not stop when I'm tired. I will stop when I'm dead. Now, vacations are nice, and sometimes we need to rest, but nobody is going to care as much as you do about your dream. Do not expect somebody to come drag you out of your bed and bring you your dream. You need to be not afraid to fail, and you not be afraid of what anybody else thinks of you. Because the reality is they've already lost the game because they didn't try. That's it. The failure stepping stone is the one that as soon as you start going down it, the faster you fail, the faster you move forward to getting to the best life. And so this is the thing that I would also tell you is that you need to understand that money doesn't buy happiness, but it's the ability to enrich the lives of others that will bring you true happiness in this life. We grow up with a win-lose mindset in this world, and the sooner that you can get yourself past win-lose and think win-win in everything you do is the moment that you will unlock a superpower. Today, my competition's probably watching this, and I hope they are. I hope that what I do is raising the bar in the industry and getting them past this mindset. Because I realize that the only way to really be happy is have the freedom of your time. Absolute freedom to be able to do whatever you want, when you want, on your own schedule. And the only way that you're ever going to be able to help develop other leaders is when you become secure yourself. And so I want everybody here to have the ability to do that. I want you to consider what changes you could be making in your life today and do it now. Do it now. It does not need to wait. Do not be casual with this, because casualness brings casualties. So my story that I tell you today I hope it encourages you. Some say, "Oh, I didn't have this or I didn't have that." Neither did I. I didn't have shit. My wife and I struggled at levels that I cannot even tell you. The times that I've made her cry are insurmountable. But it is the fruit at the end of that tunnel. That is what we chase. That is the light that we want. And so I just encourage you today, if you can, you know, do what you got to do to get to that point. Read books, work on yourself, never give up, and help other people along the way. Bring them with you because that's going to bring you real happiness. And with that, I'm going to close. Thank you, everybody, for your time today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you make it a great day.